Now what? Numbers moving?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. This little thing, can you dig that? Wow. All right. Well, people of God's delight, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And we have mutual friends that both of us, in fact, Skip and I are just saying, we're so glad they came into our lives. You know how that happens. People come into your life and you've known them your whole life. And it's just, we're so blessed. So thanks for this, and thanks for buying my book. Wow, that's awesome. And we're going to talk about You Got This. That's the general theme of our time together. We're going to be looking at baseball. We're going to be looking at shame. It's not a word that people use frequently, mostly because it makes people uncomfortable. But we'll find that baseball is good theology, and it's a reliable antidote to shame. Okay? Into this, we want people to develop a theology of Little League affirmation. You got this. And to use it every day with all their interactions. You'll see that as we go along. So we're going to talk about embracing failure, progress, not perfection. That's today. Then we're going to look at Little League affirmation, where you see it, hear it, use it. We're going to talk about opening day, Hope Revisited. I gave Skip a preview. A long haul season, how to persevere persistently. And our last session, money and shame. The Joneses don't live here. So, the hardest thing in all sports is to hit a round ball with a round bat. And side note, this is my Little League bat. How cool is that? I was, at one point, the only kid in the district to hit a home run on this one particular day with this bat. And I ran down to the hardware store to tell my grandpa about it, being in a small town. Of course, he already knew, but we talked about it anyway. He was thrilled. But you got to hit a round ball with a round bat. Now, can you all see this circle on here? If you cup your hand like this, go ahead, it's all right, it's interactive, and push your finger in the middle of your palm, that's the sweet spot on a baseball, right there. It's not real big. Well, the sweet spot on a bat is about the size of your finger. Okay, so if you look at your lower arm, that's about the size of the barrel of a bat. You put your finger up against that, that's the sweet spot of a bat. You gotta line up this sweet spot with this sweet spot and put it where nobody's standing. Otherwise, they'll scoop it up, throw you out, catch it, they'll be out, right? If you did that successfully 3 times out of 10, you with me? You'd probably end up in the Baseball Hall of Fame. You would have failed 7 times. You'd have more than twice as many failures as successes. Okay? But wait, the ball isn't coming in at you. I mean, it used to be that batters would tell the pitcher where to throw the ball, kind of like when you play wiffle ball with your kids. Not anymore. Now, the ball is coming at you about 100 miles an hour. That's about how, it takes about half a second to come from the pitcher's mound to the batter's box. Half a second. So we've all thought of a second as being 1/1000. So half a second would be 1/1. 1/1. This ball is coming at you. And within that amount of time, you have to decide, I'm left-handed, okay, so you have to decide that you're going to hit this ball, okay? I'm not going to really do it. But you have to twist your hips, extend your arms, roll your wrist, line up this sweet spot with this sweet spot, put it where nobody's standing. Oh my gosh, it's coming at you 100 miles an hour, but it's going in, it's going out, it's going up, it's going down, it may be floating, and it's in an area from basically your waist to your knees, 17 inches wide. Think of a carry-on suitcase. Okay, 100 miles an hour. It blows my mind that anybody ever hits it, right? So no wonder 3 times out of 10 we get you in the Baseball Hall of Fame. My gosh. And y'all have heard of Babe Ruth, right? Home run king for years and years and years until the late 90s when it was finally broken. He was also known as the strikeout king. For 5 different seasons, he led the majors in strikeouts. I guess if you're not willing to strike out, you're not going to swing for the fences, huh? But here's a cool little fact. You go from a 250 hitter, 5 out of 20, to do a 250 batting average, to a 300 batting average, which Hall of Fame, right? 1 more hit per week. That's all you need. 1 more hit per week. Doesn't sound like a lot. It's not really. You would go 6 for 20. Let's say you have like 6 games during the week and get 3 or 4 at bats on the average. You know, just kind of round numbers. You'd have about 20 at bats in any given week. So instead of getting 5 all week, you'd have to get 6. You have to do it every week, of course, but then you would be a 300 hitter. Okay? Just 1 more hit per week. I don't know about you, but 6 out of 20 still doesn't sound that great, does it? It kind of sucks, but it sucks less than going 5 for 20. So that's all we're talking about in baseball, is you just gotta suck less. You're not gonna be perfect. Okay? So he's patting on the back. You're halfway home, man. All right, so it's progress, not perfection. That's what baseball is about, progress, not perfection. Also, baseball's the only sport where the person scores, not the ball, not the object, the person. And you come home to do that. I think that says something about the intrinsic value of human beings over against things. Would you agree? My Marine Corps gunny sergeant would say, make your head go like this. Excellent. The intrinsic value of people over things, because it's the only sport where the person scores, not the puck, not the ball, whatever. And there's a level playing field, at least on the infield. All the dimensions are exactly the same in every single part. Same distance between the bags, same distance from the rubber home plate on top of pitching down, same distance from the front edge of the home plate to the beginning of the outfield grass. How many people knew there was such a measurement? Same distance, okay? And then you got the foul lines marking the edges of the plate. It's all the same. There's no terminus designated. So in a very real sense, like longitude and latitude, we're on the field of play everywhere, okay? Now, the outfields vary greatly, mostly because the outfield began where the crowd was. They would stand out there and watch the game, closer or farther away, depending. Somewhere along the line, somebody put a fence up, and then they padded it so they could have some dramatic plays where they steal a home run from somebody, right? Or you have Fenway Park in Boston with a 30-foot high wall called the Green Monster, and now for $1 gazillion you can sit up there, have a cocktail, maybe Matt Damon will be there. How cool is that? But the outfield varies greatly. You get 4 balls and 3 strikes. Why? Why not? And then the 3rd strike you can foul off as many times as you want, and it's called staying alive. You got a piece of it, you're still fouling off. I think the record is somewhere around 26 or 27. And I don't know if the guy struck out or got a hit. I wish I did, but oh my gosh. And like I said, the batters used to tell the pitchers where to put it, you know, like wiffle ball. They don't do that anymore. They're going after you. There's been one perfect game in the history of World Series play. One perfect game. Now, perfect game is 27 batters up, 27 batters down, no hits, no runs, no errors, right? Excuse me. And one pitcher, and the same pitcher throughout the whole game, one pitcher in the history of the sport has done that in the World Series. Don Larson, October of 1956. The Yankees against the Brooklyn Dodgers. Now, why is Game 5 so significant? Well, in the World Series, you try to put your best pitchers up front because you hope to clean this thing out in 4 games, right? So by the time you get to the 5th game, you're kind of down at the bottom of your pitching staff. Good enough to be on the Yankees, but he's not their ace. He's the only pitcher that throws a perfect game, still to this day. It's amazing. It's a team sport. There's no 6-man baseball. There's no 3-on-3 baseball. There really are no superstars in baseball. Now, I know Mike Trout and others, I mean, they get gazillion-dollar salaries and all that kind of stuff. But they still need the other players on the team in order to play. I remember Michael Jordan, when he was playing basketball for the Chicago Bulls. Game would be on the line. You knew he'd get the ball, right? The whole universe knew he was going to get the ball. And he'd drive for the baseline, he'd climb up to the backboard, 10 people hanging on 3 folding chairs, a couple of news cameras. He'd dunk it for the win. Or half court, all net at the buzzer for the win. Yeah? 9 times out of 10. Who does that in baseball? You might have some guy who had 3 home runs all season, 169 games, he gets 3 home runs. He explodes for 4 home runs during the World Series. Where were you? Anyway, and then the big dog goes 0 for 28. And an average pitcher pitches a perfect game. You just never know, right? That's one of the cool things. Errant throws or called third strikes are taken in stride because next one could be yours. Got to go easy with each other. Got to have some flexibility here. Okay. Let's do some definitions. I'm going to start off with a sentence, and I want you to finish it. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but
names will never hurt me.
That's not true, is it? Our broken bones have healed, our stitches have healed, our bruises have healed, but those words, those names still sting, even today. That's called shame. Whenever we feel diminished somehow, whenever we feel less than somehow, that's shame. Shame is not that you've done something wrong or that you're a bad person. Shame is you never measure up. You're never quite good enough. You can't please anybody. And you certainly don't deserve anything. That's shame. Now, you don't need your older brother around telling you what a loser you are, because you've got that voice in your head. Something happens and bam, that feeling comes about and you're shrunk and you go, whoa, that's a shame trigger. Something happens, boom, and it triggers that shame. Those words that still sting today, they're triggered. And it sets in motion stinking thinking. Well, I guess I am a loser. I guess I don't deserve this. I guess I'm not good enough. I don't belong here. All that stinking thinking. We don't need anybody else telling that to us. We do that to ourselves. Now that's different than guilt. In my counseling practice, I used to say to people, really, guilt is a healthy emotion, necessary. Guilt means you've done something wrong. You've hurt somebody, and you probably have to fix it somehow. Okay? Make amends wherever amends are possible. But it shouldn't last more than a minute, and it needs to get you off your hind end to go do something to fix it. That's okay. If it lingers, then we get other issues. But that's not shame, that's guilt. So you need Little League affirmation. I read somewhere, and I wish I had written down this source. Wouldn't that have been great to be able to document it? But anyway, the research shows that it takes 7 positive comments just to neutralize 1 negative comment. Now, we're not talking about growth, we're not talking about, advanced whatever. We're talking about just neutralizing the toxicity of 1 negative comment. You need 7 positive comments. What if you lived in an environment that was constantly shaming? You'd have a big hole to get out of, wouldn't you? You need a lot of Little League affirmation, where you would shut down and just deny and close everything off and be pretty much out of touch with your own body and what's going on around you. That happens too. Now, I'm indebted to Brene Brown for this. I love the way she says this in her speeches. You are not the grade on your report card. You are not the number on your paycheck. You're not all those horrible things your mom said to you. You are not the disappointment your dad thinks you are. And then I add this part. I say, you are a beloved child of God, an inheritor of the kingdom of heaven. Think of all the permutations and combinations of genes and chromosomes available to nature in the history of the universe. There's never been you ever before. But, dig this, there's never going to be another you ever again. You have an absolute right to be here. Full stop. Later in our series, we'll look at how money and religion have created a double whammy for us in creating this shame-based culture we live in, but one thing at a time. We're going to go to what I call a shame board. I'll show you what I mean here. Boy. Oh, and you might wonder, why do I write with my right hand? Because when I was in second grade or third grade, when I was trying to learn cursive, there was no desk to do that, so it's like really weird. And then the teacher said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to write." She said, "No, you're not." And it felt like I was holding it in my toes. And I developed a stutter, and I had to go to speech therapy to fix the screwed up brain thing that happened. But I do have pretty nice penmanship, and because I had to work at it. And I met a guy in the Navy. We had a chief in one of our boats. Same thing. He had really nice penmanship. Same thing happened to him. His teacher couldn't teach him how to do cursive with his left hand, so he worked with his right hand. Ended up in speech therapy. There you go. Gee, what could be wrong with that? Anyway, let's just go around the room and toss out some things that you heard about what it means to be a boy, what it means to be a girl. I'll start. One that I heard all the time was, gotta be tough. Anybody else, boy or girl?
Boy, breadwinner.
Breadwinner. Sure.
Girls are supposed to be sweet.
Say again?
Girls are supposed to be sweet.
Oh, sweet, yeah, sure.
And pretty.
Yeah, there you go.
And nurturing.
Oh, my.
The women are speaking up there.
Boys, we have any others?
Sexy.
Sexy, okay.
Both.
Says the sexiest guy in the room.
Ladylike.
Oh yeah, ladylike.
Girls go to the bathroom in numbers.
Groups.
Well,
They
all
say
right.
one boy in the gym will say time goes bathroom, that's it. One girl, then it's 5 more.
Okay, another one that I heard growing up is don't cry.
Brave.
Yeah, brave.
Courageous for a boy.
Courageous.
Athletic.
Say again?
Strong.
Strong, okay. And then I heard athletic.
Smart.
Yeah,
Smart on girls.
That's on a girl's
well,
side.
okay. They can put them on. All right.
Girls
So-
are more verbal.
Yeah.
Can't get angry.
Oh, yeah, don't get angry.
Don't cry.
Yeah. Same thing for them.
Gentleman for a boy.
Yeah, gentlemen, sure. All right.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Women and children.
Okay, so we'll keep this list going, but, because we'll add to it, things may like pop up as we go along. The reason I do this is to show you that we have set up for ourselves a dangerous situation. Because what happens oftentimes is, and thanks for a different color there, appreciate that. We start shooting on ourselves. We should on ourselves. Should. I think I should, right? So we should this, and this. So if I don't, if I'm not tough, if I do cry, and I'm a little boy, then I'm not measuring up to the ideal. Okay? If I'm not sweet, if I'm not pretty, if I begin to see myself as not nurturing, then I don't measure up. I can't please other people. So I've set myself up for a shaming environment, haven't I? Nobody's done anything, nobody's said anything, but I start shooting on myself. Even more dangerous is when other people should on us. You know, parents, teachers, whatever. We were just in Boston this last week, and our grandson, I'm not making this up. My grandson in 2nd grade, his teacher said, "You're such a lousy class. Last year's class was so much better than you." What's her name? Where is she? Oh my gosh! Can you believe that? Whew.
Yeah.
And I said, Duncan, that's not true. That's not true at all. You don't have to take that. You don't have to own that. Wow, unbelievable. All right. So, these are some of the messages that we heard growing up, and we'll keep that as a running tab. Now, what this indicates, and what I heard in 40-some years of counseling, now I'm going to say it's a broad statement, okay, and there's always exceptions, and I love it when people say, well, that's not true. And I said, well, you know, broad statements are broadly true, okay? And I'm going to say that men, broadly speaking, often have difficulty in labeling feelings. They can often have difficulty talking about their feelings, even identifying them, okay? So shame for men is often centered around things and performance. Okay? So I'm seeing some nodding heads. Maybe you all have that same kind of experience. So messages of breadwinner, tough, brave, right? All these things. Protect, decide, be responsible, competition, aggression, masculinity, all that. Defend. Those are messages that are rooted. Because here's where shame takes root. Rooted in men. And as a college chaplain, I saw men under great pressure to know what they wanted to be and what they wanted to do after graduation. There's a great deal of pressure to get the right degree, the right courses, the right subjects, okay? And I saw women, this is in my experience, seem to have a little more flexibility to explore, take risks, try things, have a career that was fun, fulfilling, and not worry so much about money. It's a generalization, but that was my experience 30 years ago as a college chaplain. In counseling men who had lost jobs, myself included, I was dealing with the loss of identity, a loss of self-worth. Who am I without this job? Okay? And even if the job was stupid, even if they hated the people they worked with and were kind of relieved to be away from it, still there was a sense that there's no job, and that was the key. So, women, and again, this broad stroke, I often found that women have an easier time talking about feelings. They're a little more able to identify them and express them. They seem to be a little more in touch with them. Shame for women seemed to me to be centered around evaluation, especially body image, and acceptance, likability, desirability, and messages of attractiveness, nurture, non-confrontational, unifying, peacemaking, passive, feminine, right? And then look at how we dress our children. Look at the nicknames we use for our kids. Tiger versus princess, right? What do we call an assertive, take-charge male? Go-getter. There are other names too. You get, what do we call an assertive, take-charge female?
Bossy.
Yeah, it rhymes.
Bossy.
Yeah, right? Well, thanks for that. Sometimes when you ask for audience participation, you get it. You gotta be careful. All right. So in counseling situations, then I would see women with eating disorders, right? Because again, concerned with body image and attractiveness. They would take full responsibility for their troubled kids, their failed marriages, their broken relationships. It's all my fault. Well, wait a second. It's really a two-way street here, you know. That takes two to tango. No, not always. They would stuff or deny their feelings, often with food or chemicals. And interesting, women can feel victimized then if they're left to raising kids and providing for the family by themselves. They feel victimized because, right, it's the man's job. And I saw women who accuse their husbands of slacking off when they're unemployed, even though they were doing their best to get a job. So this rootedness in shame has a lot of implications as we go through our life. Implications in terms of relationships, in terms of work, and in terms of our own well-being. Okay? And if we don't talk about, or hey, welcome. If we don't talk about this, if we're not in touch with it, it's going to come out somehow. It'll come out sideways usually, oftentimes in bullying, and oftentimes in really harsh words, people lashing out, really beyond what was necessary. Whoa, you know, flamethrower, what was that all about? You know, it didn't seem that big a deal, but you know, something they were not in touch with. So feelings, we can locate them in the body. True story. How cool is that? God gave us this incredible ability to feel things in our body, even if we can't articulate them. That is good news to men. Women are, yeah, they're not that. But that's good news, especially for men, because even though we can't put a label on a feeling, we sure know what's going on in our body. Let me give you an example. Think back to a time when you were embarrassed. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was 20 years ago. But think back to that time when you were embarrassed. You with me? Okay. Did you have red cheeks? Were your ears red? Did your heart beat a little faster? Did you have a little shallow breathing? Maybe kind of panting a little bit, right? Okay, your pulse is rapid. Maybe you had a lump in your throat, kind of like you wanted to cry, but you were pushing it down. Maybe you felt like you wanted to throw up. Well, that's great, because the beauty of being able to identify things in our body is next time that happens, the pulse, the lump in the throat, the flushed cheek, next time that happens, you can go, hey, wait a minute, I think I've just been diminished. I think I'm feeling shame. I can't put a label on this exactly, but that's what's going on here. So I gotta not own that, stop shooting on myself, and realize I'm a child of God, an inheritor of the kingdom of heaven. I have every right to be here, full stop. Okay? And the way we can do that is, how many people know how to ride a bike? I'm not saying you do now, but you've ridden. Keep your hand up if you've learned how to swim. Yeah, all right. So you're competent. Do you realize how difficult it is to swim and to ride a bike? Wow. Those are two huge accomplishments, and I know you have others. But when you find yourself in this shaming situation, you can rub right here where they take your pulse, real gently, and you say, I'm okay. I got this. I'm competent. Look at all the things I can do. I can ride a bike. I can swim. I've had successes at work. I've had successes at school. I'm okay. I'm competent, right? Keep going. I'm capable. I have skills. I have gifts. I have education. I have capacity. I can do lots of different things. You know, I'm competent. I'm capable. And that gives me confidence. Yeah, I'm okay. That little league affirmation that I hear, you got this, that boy, that girl, you got this, keep it up. I've got a can-do, will-do spirit. I can control my attitude. I can control my effort. I'm okay. I'm competent, capable, confident. Right? You can do that next time you see something going on, you feel something going on in your body. You can counter that shaming experience. You can stop shooting on yourself and move forward. Try it out sometime. Now, flip the page here. I'm going to give you another little technique. We won't work on this, but it goes like this. Think, feel, say, do. Okay? This is how you work through a shaming experience. I'll give you a proximate cause. This is my own true story. I grew up in a small farming community. My dad was one of the town drunks. I say one because of the number. And our house was very shabby and filled with violence and sexual abuse, physical abuse, alcoholism, drug abuse, the whole thing. I mean, if we get into the story, it just burst into tears. We'd be here for hours. But I was always embarrassed to bring kids over to my house because of the situation. So I didn't, unless they were really, really close. So I think there were like 2 or 3 guys that I had over to the house. But, thanks be to God, there's all kinds of therapy, there's all kinds of help for people, and there's all kinds of ways to get better. You don't have to stay stuck, for goodness sakes. Don't stay stuck. So I didn't. I got help and moved on, so I'm okay. But every now and then, a shame trigger comes up and catches me off guard. And here's one that happened. I went into a friend's really, really nice house for the very first time. And I got in and I thought, they have way more money than I do. Whoa. And I felt jealous. Well, you know what I'm saying. Sad. Angry. Okay. I felt stupid. Really good. Whenever you feel stupid or awkward, right? Now, this was like whoosh. It wasn't like I processed each one of these. It just was whoosh. And I could know that was going on because I was going, I was painting. My goodness, I had shortness of breath. Okay? And I said to myself, I don't belong here. Right? Who do I think I am? What am I doing in a place like this? This is way out of my league. And I froze. Well, then, right away, I started doing this. I'm okay. I got this. I'm capable. I'm confident. I can do this. And I started thinking, I'm not that little boy anymore. Right? And I could feel their welcome. They're the most welcoming, gracious, hospitable people. Wouldn't matter if they lived in a big mansion or a tar paper shack. They are just some of the most gracious, hospitable people you'd ever know. And I allowed them to give me a hug, to feel that welcome, that hospitality, that affirmation. Okay? Then I said, thanks, Lord, for having these people come into my life. I'm so grateful that I met these people. And they're such a blessing to me. Thank you. And then engaged. Part of the responsibility of a party goer is to help the party be a success. So rather than pout or get off in the corner and feel sorry for myself. I had to get in there and help this party move along. That's part of my responsibility. I went from shame to affirmation in under a minute. Okay? The time it took me to hang up my coat, get to the snack table, I went, and I was okay. Even though, boy, at first I was swept off my feet. Well, not really. I was frozen in place, just like panting on a shame trigger. After all these years, you know, it doesn't mean we're going to be totally free from that, because these roots are pretty strong. These are solid roots. They get reinforced through the years. But there are ways out of that, and we're going to keep working on that as we go through this. So, whenever you feel something in your body, shortness of breath, a lump in the throat, like you're going to throw up, your cheeks are red, all that kind of stuff, you think, hey, I wonder what's going on here? Maybe some kind of a shame trigger. What's that related to? You know, it could be at work where you just don't feel capable of an assignment. So you think, well, I must be really stupid. Well, challenge that for a little bit. You know, work through this. You say, I'll give you an example. I had a guy in therapy one time who talked about changing a tire the very first time. Anybody here change a tire? You don't do that so much anymore, but some of the old ones know how to change a tire. It's just like, I asked a group one time, did anybody ever spray ether into a carburetor? And some kid says, what's a carburetor? So I had to have a different example. But anyway, and the answer is you do that to get your car started. It's a really dangerous thing to do. Anyway, he was 12 years old. Dad says, go change the tire, flat tire. And he couldn't do it. His dad comes out and says, oh, you stupid so-and-so, you know, you're a worthless piece of so-and-so. And what are you doing? What's the matter with you? You can't even change a tire. Some kind of son you are. I mean, just on and on and on. And I said, I like to ask questions when I don't know the answer. It's just easier that way. Had you ever changed a tire before? No. Had your dad or anybody shown you how to change a tire before? No. So tell me, how are you going to change a tire? If you've never been taught, you've never practiced, how are you going to do that? Huh, he says. I never thought about it. Hey, okay, so you're not stupid. You don't know how to change a tire. Lots of people don't know how to change a tire. That doesn't make you stupid. And you can probably learn how to change a tire. Okay, so he couldn't even lift the tire out of the trunk. He was this little bitty guy, let alone jack the car up and get the lug nuts off and all that kind of stuff. Wow, but he never thought to challenge that, right? That's how those things, those experiences of shame just reinforce that rootedness within us, okay? And we end up shooting on ourselves even when nobody's around. And it has implications for relationships, parents and kids, spouses, conditions at work. And, this kid had a similar situation in school. He was just really having trouble in this class. And I said, have you had a class like this in the past? And he said, no. And it was the 100 series, so obviously it was an introductory course. So he said, no. Well, they number them sequentially, 100, 200, 300, because they get more difficult as you go along. This is an introductory course. If you knew the course, you would probably in the 200 level. Oh yeah, probably so. Or you're scamming. One of the two. He said, well, yeah. But I mean, this is what happens when we get into this stuff. So we don't want to be hurt people, hurting others. I mean, all of us have some trauma or other in our life. We do. It's hard to get through unscathed, right? But we don't want to hurt other people by not being aware of what we're doing. Often bullies are some of the most shamed, hurting people I've ever encountered. Okay? They're just screaming out for help. And we don't want to do that. But we want to be wounded people, okay? Wounded souls, helping other wounded souls heal. That's what we're about. So we're going to look at, next week, we're going to look at Little League affirmation. We're going to see it, we're going to hear it, we're going to use it. We'll move on to opening day, hope revisited. We're going to talk about the long haul season. How do you persevere in a long-term relationship, long-term friendship, marriage, family, right? How do you persevere? And then money and shame. The Joneses don't live here anymore. But I guess we have until quarter after if there's a question or a comment before we take off.
Your experience when you said you visited somebody else's place, how old were you when you got further?
67. It was a few months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, one of the topics is embracing failure. Would you talk a little bit about how you do that, how that feels?
Well, thanks. First of all, realizing that perfection is artificial, right? And baseball to me is so incredibly helpful because even a 400 hitter means he's gone, whatever. He's still not perfect, but he's way good. And baseball has been really, really helpful to me in that regard. And there was a time when I was really, really concerned about being perfect. Oh my gosh, everything had to be just right. There's no room for error. Because you see, if I exhibited any weakness, if I exhibited any imperfection, then other people would know that I'm not perfect. And if there was a chink in the armor, I'd go nuts and do everything I can to cover that up. Well, that's a terrible way to live in a relationship with other people, When I'm faced with that situation, well, actually, in my daily prayers, I recognize that I am just absolutely blessed where I am and who I am and living in this situation. We put everything on the line. We moved to Tennessee to live in this 3-gen family. We don't have plan B. And that's okay, because I've realized that where I was before was just way too stressful. It was causing too many issues for me. So I just accept the fact that I'm not going to be perfect, and I don't have to be perfect. I'm not called to be perfect. I'm called to be human. And I want to be as human as I can, where I can feel what I'm feeling. I can appreciate other people. I can see where they're coming from, what makes them tick. I may not understand something, but I want to hear that. I'm just so much more open than I used to be to all kinds of things. I kind of wish I'd had this like 40 years ago. Anyway.
One more thing, I was thinking of that story there reminded me of like the prodigal son. He wasn't worthy,
Yeah.
he had failed, and then he comes back, thinking I don't belong here.
Yeah.
His father says, yes, you do, and they go into the party.
Yeah, very good.
Really.
Yeah, exactly.
And God is the guy that's got all the money.
Well, yeah,
Or
it's
got
God's-
all the grace.
Well, it's
All
God's
the
money.
grace.
Everything's God's anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, sir.
What about the shame that one feels when you feel like you haven't lived up to your own ideals? Is that healthy?
Well, it could be a good motivator. Sure, absolutely. and we'll get into this later in the series, but I'm not calling for total irresponsibility or total victimhood. You know, like, oh, it's not my fault. You know, yeah, maybe it is your fault. Maybe you needed to do something. So we'll get into it a little bit later, but thanks for raising the question, because it's important to have goals and ideals and to say, this is what I'm striving for, this is what I'm working for. Absolutely. And that's really healthy, because that can keep you motivated, can keep you going. Otherwise, you just sit around and think, well, what am I here for? I, you know, provide carbon dioxide for the weeds, I guess, you know. So there's got to be more to it than that. It's absolutely healthy to have those goals and so on. And when you fall short of that goal, there's the fine line, I would say, between evaluation, which I think is important, accountability, which I think is important, and shaming is there any of the should stuff coming in? Is there any of the diminishing coming in? If there is, then that's probably shame. If there's an honest accountability saying, you know, I really didn't work that hard, you know, a batter's in a batting slump, right? The coach is not going to psychoanalyze him. He's going to say, get in the cage, take 1,000 pitches, okay, have video, and see what you're doing. And you do the best you can. Maybe you'll just never be able to hit an inside fastball very well at all. That's okay. And you might hit a little bit more, but like Yogi Berra would then say is, well, stick your bat out there. Who knows, the pitcher might accidentally hit it.
I've never heard
Well, did that get at what you're asking?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Because I don't want to over-answer either. Put a nickel in, sometimes you get a quarter's worth. So, well, you've got this. You really do. And I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming today. I look forward to next week. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you for all that we have been given, all that we are, all that we have. We thank you for each other. We thank you for the opportunity to stretch and grow and learn new things. Lord, bless this community, bless us as we go about our week. Keep us mindful of others and responsive to others, and help us with our fledgling thanksgiving and our gratitude that all is yours, and we're so grateful to be your stewards of it. We ask this through your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. So,
If you have your book and it's not signed somewhere in some word, I imagine that Greg would be happy to sign it.
sure. So a lot of them I said, you got this, it's fine, but I can put it, you know, up to John, to Mary, whatever.
Just real sore. I feel like I've been playing football. I told Diane, I said, I thought I'd be better, but old age said, don't get in a hurry, girl. I mean, seriously, I used to fall and bounce right up, but I ain't bounced. How are you? Well, good.
I'm sorry I stepped on your toe.
It's okay. I mean, it's fine. I came here and I got stuck in the elevator and I'm like, I didn't know. Listen, little guy used to have the cloud over his head.
What happened? What's the story?
They've been doing all this construction about condos. And around my garden, I had some wrought iron fences about this tall. And when they tore down the balconies on top of it, they let you saw it. It flattened down some of the wrought iron into the ground, and I didn't see it. I got my foot, I had on sandals, wrought iron went between my foot and the sandals. My foot was stuck. I fell on top of the rest of the wrought iron fence. Shoulder and hip. But all that wrought iron, the bruising, it's the bruising that's got
But I mean, you have any permanent damage on your shoulder or anything?
well, I mean, just had therapy on my shoulder for a month. Well, I know. But I'm okay, it's just my insides were like jello. I hit so hard. And I was also, I couldn't get up. And I finally said, just suck it up, buttercup. They were so good, so safe. But see, I thought I was smart. I started early before it got hot. I was out there at like 5 something. The whole world was asleep.
So there was nobody to help you.
I don't even think the birds were active yet.
I've often wondered what I would do if that happened.
Well, I thought about that myself, I messed up my manicure.
I've got my diapers, eating food, and
There's a room right below Thank you, dear. I appreciate it.
And they did that deal where they.
So next Sunday will be the day to bring stuff.
And then you won't have to worry about, I mean, be right downstairs, and we can help you get it. We can help you get it.
Yeah, right. Give instructions.
So we need to.
I've always heard this go.
All right, here it goes. I am. Yeah, if I get down and will you help me get up?
Oh, that's right. We got community. You want it knocked? I'm surprised that they don't bring it around to people.
Yes.
Well, they will, but I can still.
I've been to places before where they would do that, you know.
I told Neighbor when this pain hits and like somebody with Tourette's, I just yell out, I'm so sick. Watch me get that doctor.
Sister Mary. Here, I'll get that. That's true. Get her in the practice. I can toss it. I toss mine.
Now you're fine with the way over.
That's why I didn't bring my book today, because I thought, well, I'm lucky to have it.
All those ruins up there, what's that?
2 ACLs gone on my knees.
Well, this is a piece of cake compared to that.
But that was my worry, because the pain was in my knee. But I'm okay.
How are you doing?
Do you have ice pads?
Oh, I'm very moist tea.
See, that's
Only the gel?
I've been doing a bit of everything. I'm gonna be okay. It's just bruising.
Yeah.
I'm trying to spread the word on tea and chili.
I know, I'm looking good.
for my grandma.
I lived on the beach for 4.5 days. Don't be sexy, Mary. Don't be sexy. Okay, gentlemen, I'm reaching behind you. Kitty, you gonna be able to get out? Thank you.